Hello, hello. Welcome to Thursday night, How to Become a Leader in the Trump Resistance. Staying safe, de-escalation, and digital security. Let me move this bad boy. Okay. Um, episode 7. I can't believe we're already in episode 7. So in resistance work, safety isn't just personal, it's collective. The episode explores how to stay grounded in the heat of the moment and protected in the digital world. Learn practical de-escalation strategies to help diffuse tense situations without losing your voice. And discover I'm gonna, uh-uh, essential digital security practices to shield your organizing from surveillance and threats. Whether you're on the streets or online, these tools can help keep you and your movement safe, strong, and resilient. All righty. Our vision is a future without Trump and his enablers in power. Our mission is lawful, nonviolent civil resistance to Trump and his enablers. Our values are collaboration, integrity, nonpartisanship, and professionalism. And here we are. Hello, Nevin. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Trace. Hey, everyone. I'm Nevin Kamath. I am the director of the Resist Trump campaign, and it is my pleasure to be here with y'all tonight. I'm really excited about tonight's presentation because it'll cover some of uh, some of the important practices you can take to reduce your risk when engaged in things like lawful protests. We have some excellent speakers to talk with you tonight, and I wish I would have known them when I first started. So I'm really happy that we're able to share this information with you now as you're kind of getting started on your journey.
Fabulous. And I'm Tracy, and I've been working with Resist Trump as a volunteer and organizer for ever. Well, it's a new group, so probably not forever. But anyway, I am also excited about tonight. I can't wait to hear what these folks can teach us. All righty. Moving on to the First Amendment. This is very important that we look at this and read this and keep it forefront in our minds. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, here we are today, actually utilizing 2 or 3 of these freedoms right now at this very meeting. Lawful nonviolent civil resistance is protected by the First Amendment and described in the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education's article here. That's that's your cue to put that in the chat.
Done. I beat you to it.
Okay. Okay. Here we are on what we're up to. This is depicts our series, and as you can see, it's in like 3 different modules. The first module there in yellow is are the things that we've already done. And that was a lot of beginner stuff. As far as, we talked about the basics of nonviolent civil resistance and organizing and resistance and all kinds of digital uses that we can get going. And at the end of that, we had an assignment, a optional assignment, to host a get together. Basically, sort of grab a few friends and get together and try to get something going and open a dialogue. Now, the gray section, which is the second, this middle part here, that's where we are now. So tonight we're doing de-escalation and digital security, which I find fascinating. So ever since the first time I took a de-escalation class, I'm like, oh, there's so much that you just don't think of. And then that red section is the last module that we'll get there here in a few weeks. And that section is going to be a lot more advanced, where we're going to be talking about, what are we talking about? Well, mostly really advanced stuff like how to fuel the movement, next level strategies, and some really interesting stuff that I can't wait to learn about. Okay, so where are we? Last week we did using social media, attracting and mobilizing supporters. So we learned all kinds of things about how to use YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and what was the other one? Uh, anyway, there
Facebook.
were Facebook, that's
Yeah.
right. Anyway, that's what we did last week, and it was fabulous. I learned a lot. So tonight, what we're going to be doing is staying safe, de-escalation, and digital security. And like I said earlier, I'm just really interested to hear what our speakers have to say tonight. And then not next week, but the week after on the 21st, our next meeting will be taking action, leading a lawful protest. That's where we're going to learn the basics of how to get everything sort of set up and organized in advance. Our basic overview agenda for this evening, we're doing the introduction. That was me. De-escalation. And then we're going to talk about digital security. After our speaker talks about de-escalation, we'll have a little time for Q&A so that you can ask her questions. And we'll have a breakout group. And we will just have a 10-minute or so discussion with a question about, yeah, and some reflection, and see if we can talk amongst ourselves on the new things that we're learning. And then we'll have a little Mentimeter question, which I love that tool. You'll have a little a question that'll come up, and you'll enter your answer on I don't know, I do it on my phone, but anyway, it'll show up and all the answers will show up on our screen here. So it's pretty cool. And then we'll have another speaker on digital security, and we're going to do the same good stuff with that. We're going to have a Q&A and some breakout rooms and a Mentimeter, and then we will close it out until next time. So without further ado, tonight we have Carolyn Barclift. Carolyn Barclift was born and raised in Olympia, Washington. She retired after 30 years in law enforcement, during which she also served as a union officer for more than, I'm losing my mind here, for more than half of her career, including 3 terms as union president, while the only woman in the bargaining unit. She specialized in crisis intervention, de-escalation, working with people in crisis and/or with mental health crisis. Since 2016, Carolyn has been a full-time unpaid volunteer activist, Fourth Branch Action is a natural virtual grassroots organization, a member of Indivisible, DFAD, which is what? Declaration for American Democracy Coalition, and Women Forward. Carolyn hosts weekly organizing briefings and weekly conversations about the issues and what we can do to address them. So without further ado, welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you. So I'll share my screen here. And I'm going to turn off my camera because I have low bandwidth and I don't want to get bumped off. So let me go to slideshow. Here we are. So hello, everybody. Let's begin this conversation about de-escalation, understanding a couple things. And first is that communication is everything when it comes to de-escalation, but also the attitude that you go in with when you go to an event will make all the difference in the world. So a few things we know about communication is that oftentimes successful communications are determined by the way you deliver a message. People will often interpret things that they hear as wrong and respond to that. And usually people want to be heard. They want to speak rather than listen and hear. And listening and hearing is a big part of this process. So when you are find yourself at an event of some sort, whether it be a rally, a march, a meeting, or just out in public, if you see something happening, stop for a moment and evaluate what you're seeing. Try to stay objective, try not to assume anything, and then based upon what you see, that will determine what your next actions are. So conflict is very strong emotion, disagreement, difference of opinion. It's between individuals as well as groups or in society. It arises because of differences of opinion or power plays and also avoidance of accountability. So we know that the key aspects are using calm, clear language and presenting yourself in a non-threatening tone and body language, while also exhibiting active listening and empathy. Now you're going to see in these slides, and it's by design that I repeat. When I teach effective messaging, one thing I know is when you repeat things, people absorb them and keep them for longer. So please know that that is intentional.
Carolyn, may I interrupt you for just 1 second?
Yes.
The slides that you're sharing have some gray boxes that may be other windows that are on your screen.
Let me,
It's sort of like grayed out on the right-hand side, and I'm wondering if I could share the deck and maybe you could just tell me when to move to the next slide. Could that work?
sure, I'll stop sharing.
Okay, I'm sorry, so sorry about that. I hope you don't have notes that you need.
No, no, I'm fine.
Okay, then let me go ahead and share mine. Hopefully that is a little bit better for maybe the backstage folks can just let me know in the chat, but that should be a little bit better. And if you can see it, Carolyn, I can move, just let me know when to move to the next slide.
I can see it. Okay, go ahead to the next slide. So one of the things that we need to be aware of before we go is that if we are dealing with conflict, that we don't ever want to take what somebody says in the moment personally. It can feel personal, but oftentimes people are trying to get you to respond. And so when you confront a situation where there is conflict, you want to get the attention of those involved in a very non-threatening way. You want to make sure that they know that you're addressing them, that you're acknowledging them, that you understand what they're concerned about, and that you're going to ask them questions so that you can drill down in it a little bit further. So you want to forget about winning. When you're dealing with conflict, the last thing you want to be thinking about is winning. You want to be thinking about cooperation and getting that individual or individuals to cooperate with you. You will need to stay objective And the only thing, we can't control their responses, but we can control ours. And when we control ours, we're part of the solution, not part of the problem. Next slide. So it's natural for people to want to fight, flee, or freeze when they're confronted by somebody who's really angry. Not everybody is accustomed to or able to go towards the problem. Lots of times we want to get away from the problem. If you find yourself in a situation where you don't feel ready or capable of intervening, then don't do it. Find someone else who can do it. Find if you need to notify if law enforcement is on the scene and there's something that's building up to violence and you need their assistance, by all means, go tell them. You want to be sure, again, that you make eye contact with individuals, that you keep your hands low, and that you keep your palms open. These are things that signify that you're willing to listen, not that you are trying to push somebody around or demand that they comply with something that you're trying to say. But if people are intentionally trying to instigate something, to start a fight, to aggravate, to get a reaction from you, don't hesitate to move away and take others with you in moving away from them. Next slide. So one of the things that I know and have used many, many times is in the minute when conflict is occurring, oftentimes it will get quite loud. People's voices escalate as their emotions rise. And so talking to them and starting to lower your voice will bring people down to a calmer place. So you want to lower your voice and slow down your speech and offer to speak to them in a more private location. Can we step aside, please, rather than right here? Let's step over here where we can have a conversation. Respect their personal space. Try to keep at least 1 to 3 feet out, between you. That's a good distance in terms of having conversation. But if for safety reasons your radar is going off, then step back and step away further. So when we are in close proximity, we've lowered the tone of our voice, the volume of our voice, then it helps to reduce anxiety and to get people to communicate with you. So when you're talking to someone, you also want to give them an opportunity to go ahead and say that why they're upset or angry. And realize that sometimes in the moment they can be lost and you may not get to them for several minutes. So you have to keep trying. Go ahead, next slide. You want to be empathetic. You want to be non-judgmental. You want them to believe that you're giving them your undivided attention. You want to pay attention to what their feelings are and empathize with their feelings, not necessarily with their actions. Using nonverbal messages like eye contact and then nodding your head up and down when they're speaking. Saying that's a way of saying to them nonverbally that I hear you, I'm listening to you. When they've said something that you can restate and paraphrase back to them and use their words, that helps to also reduce the conflict and the anxiety in the situation. So pay attention because their feelings are very real to them. And if you don't acknowledge those, it will escalate further. Next slide. So what's your body language saying? What are your facial expressions? You may have heard in training for, let's say, phone banks, that when you call someone, smile, because that will come across in your tone of voice. And it's actually quite true. That works. What are you doing with your hands? Are you waving them around in front of your face, or are you holding them in front of you saying, I'm here, I'm hearing you, I'm listening to you, go ahead. Try not to move quickly and try not to hover over people. If somebody is sitting down and there is possible for you to sit down and be on their level, then by all means do that. So next slide. Ignore challenging questions. It's something that people, when they are very frustrated and they're trying to be heard, is they will oftentimes issue challenging questions, demanding that you answer question A, B, C, or D, when actually the issue at hand is F. So you want to redirect their attention back to whatever the issue is at hand, not to argue, but to remember that um, individuals can respond in a variety of ways, and you have to just feel it out and come back at it. I hope that made sense to you. I didn't quite say that well, but go ahead to the next slide. That's part of the repeat, repeat, repeat too, as you get it in different ways. So we can't control, again, we can't control anyone else's behavior. We can only control how we respond to them. I can't begin to tell you how many times people would say very nasty or cutting things or call me names. And, I decided a long time ago, that makes no difference to me. That doesn't matter. So if that's happening and you feel yourself, starting to get a little anxious yourself, take a few deep breaths. It really makes a huge difference. It gets more oxygen to your brain when you take deep breaths. It gives you a moment to contemplate what's next. Remember that their distressful behavior is often rooted in fear and anxiety. You want to calm yourself in order to be able to calm the other person. Next slide. So top 10 de-escalation techniques. This is a list that comes from the Crisis Prevention Institute. Excuse me. And I've added 4 on the right side of the screen from my own personal experience. So just covering this again, you want to be empathetic and non-judgmental when you're talking to people. Respect their personal space, but also be close enough so that they feel like they're being heard and acknowledged. You want to use non-threatening nonverbals, avoid overreacting, and be sure to focus on their feelings. Ignore their challenging questions. Set limits like, okay, we're going to talk about this, but we need to bring ourselves to another place over here where we can do that without interruption, if that's okay with you. That's one kind of a limit. You want to choose wisely what you insist upon. And you want to give both yourself and the other individual a little bit of time for silence to reflect on what each of you is saying. Allow time for decisions to be made. The ones that I add in here from my experience are, don't ever use the word never or the word always, because there are exceptions to everything. And so we don't want to fall into that trap of prejudging based on some generality. Also, don't tell people to calm down, because that tends to really not do what it is intended to do. It tends to get them more excited. It is okay to say, hey, let's all calm down just a little bit so we can discuss what's going on. But again, don't directly tell someone to calm down, because I guarantee you it can have a bad impact. Encourage positive responses. So when you're using open body language, they see that you are paying attention to them. The inclusive language that you use and trying to get that person to agree with small points could help build a cooperative atmosphere, finding common ground. So also, instead of saying yes, but, when you're talking to somebody, say yes, and. And the reason for that is because the moment you say but, everything that comes after that word is totally ignored by the person that you're speaking to. Next slide. So there are a lot of really great de-escalation resources out there. This is just meant to give you an overview today, a brief understanding of the kinds of considerations that you need to make if you're going to be part of a de-escalation, let's say, team for an event. The ACLU, the Hands Off 2025 organization, other groups have a good deal of information. So on these slides, when you get the slide pack, these are live links where you can go and access these resources. Next slide. Further, there's a lot of calming and de-escalation technique videos out there on YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, you might go and sample a few of them, see one that fits perhaps your group, your organization, and bring that forward to watch together. Don't forget that there's a lot of organizations like Indivisible that have safety, security, and de-escalation information available. Also Move On, Greenpeace, ACLU, International Center for Not-for-Profit Law is a great resource as well. And also here are the protest laws by state, which will help you to make sure that you're in compliance as we talk about nonviolent resistance. Next slide. And finally, there is a checklist for your actions if you're organizing an event, and also Training for Change has a handout on how to do de-escalation easily. I find that when you take samples like this, one of the slides, say, for example, from this presentation, or the how to de-escalate handout that they are providing, and you take it with you, it's great to have there as a reference if this is something that you are new at and don't feel comfortable with it and want to just be sure that you remember everything. So next slide. There you go.
That was
Thank you.
amazing, Carolyn. Thank you so much for that presentation. That was so in depth and just like brimming with experience and lived experience and wisdom. I really am grateful for you having done that. Just want to let everyone know that the Q&A is now open. Just select the Q&A function by clicking more and then asking any questions that we may have of Carolyn here tonight. I do have a question for Carolyn that I would like to ask, which is, you didn't actually mention, at least that I could recall, filming individuals who are engaged in some sort of escalated situation. And in my experience, filming can defuse. So I was wondering if you could maybe speak to that a little bit, just pulling out your camera and saying, guys, I'm filming, how
Yeah.
do you feel about that?
Generally, if it can also escalate a situation. So you have to have some comfort with what you're doing at that moment in time. But also, if you're the person who's trying to do the de-escalation, you're trying to deal with this individual, you're not the one who should be holding the camera. It should be somebody else who's with you. And one of the things that I advise everybody who goes to a protest is to go with the buddy system. Always have somebody else with you so that you have their back and they have yours. And that would be a great thing to have a conversation ahead of time with them and say, if things start getting out of control, please record, take a step back and record so you're not right in their face. And trying not to escalate it with that. So
That's really helpful.
it's a episode by episode. Everything. I got famous in the police academy for saying it depends on the circumstances. So I'll say it here. Depends on the circumstances.
Yeah, that makes sense. And for just from the perspective of someone who has organized several protests, I think that Carolyn's advice, at least in my own experience, is spot on in that, having buddies who help you organize these things, especially around, assigning responsibilities in case something gets escalated. Maybe it's, hey, I'm going to do the video and would you be comfortable doing de-escalating, or I'm going to do de-escalating. Would you be comfortable videoing? Having like little buddies definitely helps. Yeah.
One thing I didn't say was for a lot of events, and I've hosted and organized a lot of in-person actions. Um, it, okay, I had a thought, and look at that. I must be getting old because it just went poof right out of my brain.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about having buddies, and then I don't know. Maybe it was just a magical thought that'll come back to us.
Oh, marshaling.
Okay.
I wanted to mention marshaling, that also lots of times in events you're going to have it, and the organization is going to have set up for peacekeepers or marshals who in our events they wear neon colored vests so that we can identify them, and they're available for help also if you need help in de-escalating. They will have had more training at it likely than you have had.
Absolutely. And as you folks, you who are in the audience, think about the events that you're starting to build up to, I mean, there is no limit to the size of the event, right? I mean, of course, for this first optional assignment, we're not expecting you to bring 10,000 people out, but one day you might end up doing that. And we do know people who actually have done that exact thing and have organized marshals here in Austin of protests or mobilization events that have involved literally more than 10,000 people. But for your first event or your first protest, you may, be the marshal yourself, wearing a special vest or just letting people know who you are and having a buddy system to help you kind of de-escalate in case things get a little bit heated. Yeah, so we've got a question from Catherine Lewandowski. Could we go ahead and schedule a de-escalation training? I'm not exactly
kn-
sure what that
I
might
know,
be.
Catherine, and the answer to that question is yes.
Okay,
Reach out to me and we can get something going for you.
good. Yeah, great. So maybe that's more for Carolyn there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think we're going to move ahead to the breakout rooms, folks. Thanks again, Carolyn, for that amazing presentation and for answering those questions.
Thank you.
I will now proceed to invite folks to consider the following question and also share in the chat. What emotions do you personally find hardest to manage intense moments? And how might that show up during an action? Thanks for doing that exercise, y'all. We are now going to do a quick Menti question, which is kind of like our way of learning what you talked about and whether or not this training series is doing anyone any good. Um, so let me go ahead and share the Mentimeter exercise and present right now. You can go ahead and go to on your phone, maybe go to menti.com and then enter the code 71758378. And feel free to respond to the question, which asks, what emotions do you personally find hardest to manage in tense moments, and how might they show up during a protest? I'm also going to answer the question while we all kind of think about that together. And I really encourage you to go to Menti and use that code and let us know your thoughts on that topic together. Let's see if it's working. Yeah, it looks like short responses are working.
So the number you're looking for is 71758378.
That's right. So I just put that first one in was, heated feelings. And when counter protesters come, I think that can raise the temperature, at least for me, at a protest when people are, trying to counter protest you or doing things like that. Someone has said, if someone is very angry, I have a hard time not also responding with anger. I appreciate that honesty. Frustration. So those are all, like very raw and honest perspectives about the emotions that can be hard to manage in tense moments. Someone has also said fear. Thank you for sharing that. And so definitely, another person that says within myself, intense limbic rage. From others, a mindset of manipulation. Very interesting psychology there. Uh, Definitely, review the slides that Carolyn's shared, which we'll be sharing via email. I know we've had some difficulties with the follow-up emails, but we have been posting the YouTubes, and it looks like we're going to get back on track after this webinar as far as the follow-up emails. So just definitely check the slides, the YouTube, and feel prepared when you go into your first protest, whenever that is. Disgust in response to hateful language. Yeah, these are really strong emotions. Thanks everyone for doing that exercise with us. All right. Tracy, should I go ahead and introduce Keith or
Go for it. I'm gonna
here?
sneak backstage.
Okay, sounds good. So, folks, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Keith Allen, who is an expert in the field of information security and has worked for over 15 years for the US government and healthcare organizations to help them secure their data and investigate cybersecurity incidents. He has worked for NASA, the Department of Energy, Sutter Health, and is currently the senior incident responder at VSP. Prior to working in the civilian world, Keith was a counterintelligence special agent with the U.S. Army. He holds a master's degree in information assurance from National University and a bachelor's of science from UC Davis. Thank you so much, Keith, for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nevin, and it's a pleasure to be here. Go to the next slide, please. All right. Hey, folks. I should start off by introducing myself. My name is Keith Allen. As Nevin said, I have a master's degree in information assurance, and I've been working for the last 15 years to stop malware and hackers in various organizations. It's pretty important to me to protect personal health information and make sure that the private information held in certain hands does not escape out to the public where it can be used to victimize people. Many years ago, I served in the U.S. Army as a counterintelligence special agent. And 20 years ago, while I was in Iraq, I was telling Nevin this, I was on a team whose mission was to find yellow cake uranium for the building of a dirty bomb in Iraq. As many of you might have known, that mission was a bust. It didn't exist. So I wasted a lot of time. But that was a turning point in my life. At that point, I started to really question what was going on. And through the friendship of a person on my team, a guy named Brandon, who was a punk kid from New Jersey, we began questioning the propaganda around us. We read some Noam Chomsky, understood manufacturing consent, and realized the situation we'd somehow ended ourselves in. Getting more to current events, I have a very deep belief in democracy and freedom. I always have. Which is why I can't sit by while the country falls into authoritarianism. I'm doing my best in my little area of California to educate and help out and push back against this regime and our country's current direction towards authoritarianism. Next slide, please. All right, so let's get into the topic at hand, huh? I'm going to talk a lot about things related to digital security and the information in our life. And we're going to talk about what is risk and what is secure, what is insecure, and what is risky, right? What I want you to understand, though, is that everything has a risk associated with it. But doing nothing also has risks. And throughout the conversation, the slides I'm going to talk about here, it's not about making sure you have no risk. What it is understanding what are the risks of what you're doing right now, and what are the pros and the cons of changing to a different way. You know, will this increase your risk? Is it worth the cons of, is it worth the pros and the cons of what you're about to do, right? You cannot eliminate risk, you can only manage it. That's a fundamental principle of information security. You will never be risk-free, and that's okay. There's a risk tolerance to what we all do in life, and that is set by you. So the question really is, what is your risk tolerance and the risk tolerance of the people around you? Don't let the risks we talk about today, though, stop you from doing what is needed, okay? It is simply meant to guide you toward making smart decisions that prevent you and your friends. We are not on a mission to completely eliminate all risks, because we're never going to get there. What we are on a mission to do, though, is understand the risks we're taking and be smart about it. Okay, next slide. All right, so I'm going to talk on this slide about two different tools that everybody's familiar with and are generally regarded in the information security community as being very insecure. What that means is that these tools are not recommended for sharing any sort of sensitive material with. And in fact, in some organizations, it's prohibited that you share any sensitive information through them. In the context of what we're doing here, what I want you to think about is that you shouldn't be sending any information via email or SMS text that you would be uncomfortable with someone in the Trump regime reading. That's how I want you to gauge whether you think it's too sensitive, right? If you think about, would someone in the Trump regime, would I be okay if someone in the Trump regime read this? And the answer is no, I don't want that to happen. Then maybe you should not be using email or SMS text because they're pretty insecure. All right, so I don't want to go through every point here and read line by line, but I'll just brush on the broad strokes here. Email is fully readable by the company that provides you with it. If that's Gmail, guess what? Google can read all your email. If that's your internet service provider, they can read all your emails. That's AOL, they can read all your email. So the fundamental question that you want to consider is, how much do you trust them, right? I mean, your internet service provider, it's going to give up any email requested by anyone, by any lawyer legally, right? Same thing with Google. And we all know that that Google harvests and uses all the data that we give them for their own advertising purposes. So just spend some time thinking, how much do I really trust that organization that's running my email? And in a very real sense, lawfully speaking, that email kind of belongs to them. You're using their infrastructure. They're storing it on their servers unless you download it all and delete it, right? So in the eyes of the law, you're not even clearly the owner of that data. All right. Something else I want you to think about is that when email moves around the internet, it doesn't just go from point A to point B, right? Your destination could be someone across the country, and it's going to travel through 2 or 3 or 4 different servers that pass it along as it goes, right? You're not in control of which servers those are, and you're not in control of the encryption that's used during transport. The good news is that, in speaking really honestly, most servers have out there that handle a lot of email have been upgraded and use pretty good practices when moving their email around. But it's not guaranteed, and you're not in control of it. So think about that. Another aspect is that email is regularly subpoenaed by lawyers who are investigating something or during the process of discovery when there's some sort of case going on. The admins who run these servers are very familiar with getting these requests, providing sets of data within a certain scope, and handing it over using prepackaged tools that are well known for email forensics and can go through and do keyword searches on large volumes of data for whatever those lawyers are looking for. What that fundamentally means is that there's an existing framework to easily access email, search through it, and get to answers fairly quickly once lawyers become involved. Email is regularly attacked via phishing. I'm sure everybody on this session has had a phishing email sent to them at one point or another. If you haven't, then yes, you have. You just didn't realize it. And if they're successful, this can give the attacker access to everything that you've said. So it's a rich tapestry of history about everything you've talked about. Is that really what you want the possible Trump regime or oppositional forces focused on, getting into your email? I don't think so. I think we want to keep anything that you can be considered sensitive out of that realm as much as possible. Now, if you do want to communicate something and it's not sensitive, feel free, go for it, right? But just keep aware of what you're doing. Similar story with SMS text. It's been around for a long time. The protocols have been upgraded over time, but there's plenty of phishing that goes around with text messages, and your cell phone company has full access to them. It really varies by cell phone company, so I'm going to be very general in this statement. But according to the research I've done, full text messages are kept on average about 2 weeks for most cell phone companies. The metadata, though, about who you contacted, when, and whether a file was transferred, maybe what the name of the file was, the size of that file, et cetera, et cetera. The full metadata of that, though, can usually be stored up for years. So is that something, how much do you trust Verizon, T-Mobile, whatever you use, right? And then finally, while rare, these attacks used to be something that happened much more often many years ago. Security has come up, but there are hacking techniques that allow a skilled hacker to pull down your text messages if they can socially engineer your cell phone company or you. So we regard this in the security community as two relatively insecure tools that a lot of people use without really thinking about it. Next slide, please. All right, now I'm going to get to making some enemies here. I know that I talked to Nevin, and Discord and Facebook are part of your process, which is specifically why I chose to pick the fight on Discord and Facebook, because I feel like everybody should know what they're getting into up front. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Discord, well, it's better than Facebook, I'll tell you that. Everything you do on Discord, though, is logged and is readable by Discord Inc. It's a privately held company, and they have been setting themselves up for a venture capitalist backing. They have a lot of venture capitalist backing, and they're setting themselves up one day to be purchased. That's like they seem to be heading in that direction. If you look at like how they behave, it's like they're trying to increase the value of what they got going and get as many people on there as possible so that their perceived information value is as high as possible. And then the likely move, I don't know when, but I'm just going to guess that the likely move sometime within the next 2 to 10 years will be sell it to some large corporation that can harvest all the data, right? That's how a lot of these things go down. So keep aware of that. If you're using it to be a gamer, who cares, right? Who cares if they know that, you're on World of Warcraft and you were in a raid last night? Big deal. But if you're using it to do something sensitive, that might be a bigger problem one day in the future. So keep an eye on that. Maybe consider again what you do when it comes to posting sensitive information. Who you talk with can form a network of connections that they can use later on to figure out what your activity where it was on certain days. Okay. Also, malware, phishing, and credential theft are fairly frequent on Discord. I've myself am on Discord, and I've had friends who suddenly started blasting out some really weird links and saying some weird stuff. And then later on, my friend comes on and says, hey, my account got hijacked. Don't do it, don't click on those links. So it's definitely a place where it's an attack surface. Let's put it that way. Okay, Facebook. Facebook's the worst. Meta, which is the renamed company that owns Facebook, has shown in the past that they are very willing and do make money off of selling your information. Facebook can be described as a gigantic information gathering operation. And then what you do is that data is consolidated, parsed, extracted, and then sold to researchers. And these researchers have not been in the past sometimes thoroughly vetted. And those researchers can do all sorts of information with that, like trying to figure out how to do, well, in the most innocuous case, micro-targeting of ads. Okay, that's not too bad. I mean, not the greatest, but, on the scale of disastrous to, happy times, it's more on the happy times side. But you can then see things like the scandal of Cambridge Analytica in 2016, where people can get a hold of that data and use it for much more nefarious purposes and propaganda operations. Also, Facebook doesn't have a history of being very secure. Full transparency, I once interviewed at Facebook many, many years ago. They didn't take me, their loss. But they have had a history of leaking really critical information. 533 million users have had their information publicly leaked in 2021. And I honestly can't remember a year which I haven't read about a Facebook compromise at some point. They're rather notorious in the information security community for that. That being said, they are amazing in how many people use Facebook. I can understand why any group wants to go to Facebook and have a presence on Facebook simply to get the views and to gather up people to start a movement. Okay, very good, very understandable. What I have to say from an information security standpoint, though, is be aware of what you post and be very careful about sensitive information on there. Never think that anything you enter into Facebook is in any way private and won't be used by somebody who does not like what you believe later on down the road. Okay, next slide, please. All right, now I'm going to give a plug for my favorite tool, which if I could get you all to use right now, I would. It's called Signal. And some of you right now are thinking two names, Pete Hegseth. I'm going to get into that in a second. But despite that controversy, and I'm going to explain that situation, Signal is the gold standard in terms of solid security and user interface and functionality. If you're looking for a way to securely talk from one person to another or securely talk to a group of people, Signal is the way to go as long as you use it smart, which is the mistake that Pete Hegseth and his cronies made. So let's start off with the goods, right? The good things about it. Signal has end-to-end encryption by default. You literally can't turn the end-to-end encryption off as far as I know. It's baked in. There's 5 different encryption standards that are used within Signal. Not that they're all used for the same thing. It's just that Signal has different features, and sometimes certain encryption standards are better used for certain things. For instance, when you make an encrypted phone call with Signal, you've got to have good encryption, but it's got to be fast. That's a lot of data, right? That's going through quickly. So you've got to have something that works quickly. When you're sending a text message, it's got a little bit more time and a lot smaller amount of data, so it can apply a different encryption standards. It's still very secure, but one that just works better with that type of information. Okay, it was put together. The Signal Foundation runs Signal. They themselves cannot even read your message. There are only two places in the world that can read a message that you send from Signal: the account that sent it, and the account that received it. Nobody in between. Your internet service provider can't do it. The United States government can't do it. Corporations can't do it. Signal Foundation can't do it. The server that passed along your message can't do it. All of those places just see an encrypted blob. Okay, it's encrypted on the phone or on the app when you send it, and the entire way through transit, it has at least one modern major form of encryption applied to it, and then it's decrypted at the other end, and it's done asymmetrically with public and private keys so that it is completely secure both ways. All right. Now let's talk about the Signal Foundation. Signal Foundation is a nonprofit organization. It's founded by two people. I know the first guy, literally I've met the first guy, really good guy named Moxie Marlinspike. And yes, that's actually his real name, Moxie Marlinspike. He's incredible. And he designed the encryption on there. The other guy is a professional at running nonprofits. They put this foundation together and they made this all open source. All right, I encourage you to go check it out. Next slide. Okay, now we're just going to go quickly through some basic training. These are things that you want to look out for. Many of you know what phishing is. It's when you get a misleading email. There are red flags associated with it: false sense of urgency, too good of an offer, and something that's out of nowhere, like I wasn't expecting a package, or I didn't travel through that toll booth, right? You want to look for those things, and you want to think about them every time you get an email or something on Discord, etc. If you're looking to detect that stuff, carefully check the sender's email address, the links, all that, and think before you click. Next slide. All right. Many websites have multi-factor authentication. If you are working with an application and they offer it, please take it. Multi-factor authentication really ups the difficulty from the perspective of the attacker. And I mean really ups the difficulty from the perspective of the attacker from getting access to your account. All right, still not impossible, but very, very difficult. Expert level in order to get past MFA. It's come down a bit in the recent past, but still, use it if you can, please. Next slide. Another thing I recommend is using a password manager. They help you easily come up with strong and unique passwords. They eliminate the reuse of passwords, and they actually make your life much more easier because they autofill the passwords that they are managing for you. You just go to a site, it recognizes you're in the site, the app finds your password, inputs your password, and sends you on your way. You may not even realize sometimes that you've used it, depending on the password manager and depending on the situation, okay? It also relieves you of the ability to have to write down all your passwords to remember whether you've used a password here or whether it was a different password. All sorts of problems go away. Now, it does not eliminate risk. What you've done is you've taken all the risk of all the different sites you use and you've consolidated it into one trusted place. So when you set up your account at that one trusted place, use a really good password, use all the security you can, and focus on making sure that that one place is very well protected. Here's 3 solid password managers I'm going to recommend for you if you want to check them out. All 3 are good: Bitwarden, 1Password, and Keeper. Next slide, please. All right. This is going to seem obvious, but for anybody out there who doesn't lock your phone and have it set on a timer so that the screen goes off and it's locked and it's difficult to get back into, please do so. Someone of malintent who gets a hold of your phone, or if you're detained by law enforcement and they take your phone, there are rules around it, but anybody can get into it if it's unlocked, right? And it's also a myth that law enforcement can crack your password and read your phone and read the phone data that they take if even if you have it locked, right? The truth is that modern phones are fairly secure, and most of them need to get past your password screen to get the data that's in there. You have to spend a lot of effort to get past most the password screen of most modern phones. Not speaking on the old stuff here. Old stuff is a different story. Okay. Oh, also, please avoid using facial recognition or fingerprints to unlock your phone. It's kind of easy to get your face on the screen, right? So don't use that. Next slide, please. All right, and this is last slide for my presentation here. Here are 3 apps that are recent that you might find useful. IceBlock, StopIce.net, and Ready Now. IceBlock is an iPhone-only app. It's gotten a lot of media attention lately, so you might have already heard about it. But just like Google Maps allows you to report where officers are on the road for speed traps, etc., IceBlock does the same thing. People crowd report where ICE agents are in their local area. You cannot report an ICE agent outside of your local area. It's completely legal and it is free. But let's say you have Android. You don't have an iPhone. That's okay. You've still got stopice.net. It essentially does the same thing. Get an account on there. It's completely free. And finally, if you know someone or if you are the kind of person who you feel might be in danger of being detained for whatever reason, get Ready Now. Get the Ready Now app. You follow through a set of instructions. It asks you for certain information. Here, give me a phone number to the people that you care about, your family, your friends, your lawyer, right? Here's some ideas on things you can do to prepare. And then at the right time, if you are detained, you can hit a single button. That single button will send a message to your lawyer, your family, your friends. Hey, I've been detained, and start taking the following steps, right? So I recommend that and passing that along to anybody you feel might need it. I think that's all I've got.
Well, that was amazing, Keith. I just want to thank you for presenting to us today. I don't think we have time for Q&A today for Keith, so thank you again, Keith, for that amazing presentation. I'd like to actually now go, if it's okay, Trace, to the breakout room, just given the time. So Keith, what we're going to do now is invite everyone to consider the following questions, which are, well, actually, it looks like one person did have a question, Kay. Let's see if we can, Kay, I think you've raised your hand. Let me see if I can actually call on you, if that's okay. 1 second. Okay, you should be allowed to unmute, Kay.
I can, and I'm very embarrassed. I meant to hit react and my icon options shifted and I accidentally raised my hand.
No worries.
So I'm really sorry.
No worries at all. Okay, great. So I'll actually go back to the breakout room question, which is, again, what's one thing you currently do to enhance digital security? And what's one area where you could improve? Welcome back, everyone. We are going to, in the interest of time, skip the Menti question for that session. I hope your breakout rooms were lovely. We wanted to just inform you that we have a few things kind of going on. First of all, though, wanted to give you a couple of challenges. The first is to bring a friend to next week's or the next webinar you attend, which will be in 2 weeks, so hopefully. Next week we're off. That's August 14th. We'll be coming back August 21st with a really nice webinar called Taking Action, Leading a Lawful Protest. We're going to have 2 or 3 guests. Sorry for, we're still getting their bios and headshots and all that good stuff. Melody Tremayo is an amazing member of the Hands Off Central Texas Coalition. They're the vice president, and Melody has substantial experience navigating the permitting process. So say you wanted to take your protest to the next level and like get a permit and have a bunch of people, maybe some sound amplification. Again, you don't have to do that for the optional assignment, but say you did want to do that one day, we want to just show you, what it takes. And Melody's the perfect person to do that. She's helped organize protests of up to literally 20,000 people. And then we've also got a couple of other individuals, one of whom is an expert at hanging banners off of highways. Her name is Lucy Larkin, and she's also going to be speaking. We may have a third guest as well that's not yet confirmed. So really advanced protesting ideas that you'll be exposed to, while keeping in mind that the optional assignment is literally as simple as like going out on your sidewalk with a few signs and a few friends and just like hanging out for a few hours. Like that'll be good. But you can take it up, you can ramp it up if you'd like to, and we want to give you the skills and the tools to be able to do so if you want to. As far as engaging with the learning community, we have the Google Classroom and we have the Leadership Lab on Tuesday nights, the next one will be on August 19th. So we're going to skip next week. And then we have the Discord where you can always join and engage in the Discord community. Noting the security aspects of Discord that Keith so generously shared with us today, which I appreciate the critique. We think, personally, I think Discord is a valuable tool for communication and for networking, but it is also one that you need to know the limitations of, particularly around security and risk. So don't say anything on Discord that you don't want to have like published on the news or given to the Trump regime. But given that we do lawful nonviolent civil resistance, and we moderate the Discord very carefully in case people veer outside of that, I personally feel comfortable enough managing the Discord, but everyone's level of comfort is different, and you need to assess that for yourself. All right. Thank you again for coming tonight. I just want to thank our speakers, Carolyn Barclift and Keith Allen, for joining us. This was a really amazing set of segments that we had from both of them tonight. Want to thank Tracy for leading the episode at the beginning and for co-moderating with me. Want to thank Braden for helping to facilitate the breakout rooms. And then finally, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. I'm here at Netroots Nation in New Orleans, and the energy is palpable. It is clear that we are in the throes of an authoritarian fascist regime. Now is the time to act. We are here to give you the tools to act, and you have had the courage to show up to learn how to act. So congratulations to all of you for going through this course, and sorry if my video was off this whole time. But yeah, thanks for going through this course, and we hope to see you in more. And please bring some friends, because we're going to need all the help that we can get to win the fight that we have ahead of us. Thanks, everyone. I'll now actually open up the comments for everyone to add in the chat. But thank you, and have a great night.